This is Radio Paul. I'm going to do a video today on the David Miscavige interview with Ted Koppel back in the 1990s. It's very clear that DM is not clear. Clear is a term in Scientology where once you achieve it, you're starting down the road of becoming an OT. Remember that this man runs Scientology. He presses it as the answer for the world's problems. Clears should be ethical people. They should be honest. They should not have memory issues. They should not have a lack of confront. There's a lot of things that clears should be able to do that DM, David Miscavige, in this video is not able to do. Now, most of you know that I'm not a huge fan of Marty's preaching of the tech, but that's his business. He's free to believe what he wants to believe, but I will give him credit that he practices what he preaches, in that he's not afraid to audit people. Let's look at a series of problems here with Miscavige, but the first being is his fear in comparison to Marty's willingness to audit people to show them what the tech is.
Presumably, you and I could do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right now, right?
Well, you'd have to want to participate.
Fine. Could you, on the most basic level, do it with me right now?
No, absolutely not, because we're not in an environment here that is conducive to all the elements of auditing.
Right. I'm perfectly comfortable here.
Well, here's why. Because you're the interviewer here on the program,
right,
and you're the one who's in charge here on the program, and you're interested in doing a program. That instantly throws out the first three rudiments to doing this.
Are we clear?
For the past 40 years, and yet during that time period, Scientology has continued to grow. In fact, it's 25 times larger today than it was in 1980.
Again, he's selling this line that we always hear about. There's millions of members, and it's growing. It's all these times larger than it was back in 1980. Now listen to this.
Go down to our church headquarters in Clearwater, Florida, where 2,000 parishioners are there at any given time from all over the world. In other words, he would get a cross-selection, people from Germany, England, California, Florida, Spain, Italy, you name it.
Did you catch that? 2,000, only 2,000 Scientologists in Clearwater at any given time, the spiritual mecca of Scientology, and they claim to be tens of times larger than they were in 1980. Do you want to do the math? I mean, there's 2,000 Scientologists. That includes staff, Sea Org, OSA, long-term Scientologists. How are you packing new bodies in there? This clearly is out of the mouth of Dave Miscavige proof that there are not millions of members. There's no way you could achieve that with 2,000, only 2,000 people in your Mecca at any given time.
Are we clear?
Mr. Miscavige, I must admit, I'm curious. You have been the head of the Church of Scientology now for what, a little over 10 years?
Not really the head there, but certainly a senior Scientologist.
There's no way that David Miscavige just denied being the leader of Scientology. I refuse to believe it, because just a few minutes later in the interview, he admits to being the leader of Scientology. Whatever's convenient for you, buddy. Hey, what's real for you is real for you at any given moment.
Fixation.
Let me stop you 1 second. I just want to tell any members of our audience who may just have joined us and not have been with us, my guest is David Miscavige. You are now the head of the Church of Scientology.
Yes.
Right. Okay, please. Mr. Miscavige took over as the head of Scientology in 1987 following the death of the church's founder, L. Ron Hubbard.
So then he goes on to say how American Scientology is in its mindset. And then later, when it's convenient, he says that Scientology is cut from the same type of concepts of Buddhism. So, we're this American concept, and now we're this ancient concept. Again, whatever at the moment is convenient for him to say, he says.
Your religion, Scientology, is an American religion. Mm-hmm. Fair enough? So
well,
far?
American of the mind. Yeah,
right.
That's right.
What does that do for Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, all the other isms that also did not originate in this country?
Well, no, that isn't really the point. We are in the tradition of the much older religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, helping the person as a spiritual being improve himself.
Are we clear?
Look, even David Miscavige can get it right once in a while, even if he doesn't know that he's getting it right.
As a matter of fact, the officials in the church are paid far less and live far more frugal existences than any other church leader.
The whole basically was some kind of a slang term that had been coined long before I got there, and it was where you ate there, you slept there on the floor, and you never left with the exception of a brief period to go take a shower and come back.
When you say slept there on the floor, did you have cots or bunks or some kind of beds?
No, you slept you were given a sleeping bag, you slept on the floor in a sleeping bag.
And what were the conditions like on the floor to sleep?
Well, there were ants. The place was infested by ants, so ants would crawl on you. And there was a 2-week period during that time when all the electricity had been shut off, as ordered by Mr. Miscavige, and this was, of course, in summer.
As a matter of fact, the officials in the church are paid far less and live far more frugal existences than any other church leader.
Are we clear?
Okay, you're starting to get the idea now. But let's see if you can see the contradictions in these following clips. Feel free to comment.
Well, in Scientology, you don't do anything for somebody else. Let's look at it this way then, what Scientology does. If you look out across the world today, you could say that if you take a person who's healthy, doing well, like yourself, you'd say that person is normal, not a crazy, not somebody who's a psychotic. You look at a wall and they call it an elephant. Would you agree with me on that?
So far, I get no
Okay, and you can see people below that.
Right.
And crazy people, criminals, that I think society in general will look at and say that breed of person hasn't something quite right because they're not up to this level of personality. You can understand that. Well, we in Scientology are not, you see, all past attempts have been to bring man up to somebody's standard of what's normal. What we're trying to do in Scientology is take somebody from this higher level and move them up to greater ability. That's for our work with underprivileged children in California. We work on getting drug addicts off drugs. We support Narconon, which is Drug Rehabilitation Center, using the drug rehabilitation technology of L. Ron Hubbard.
Are we clear?
I'm now going to give a sales pitch to you on Scientology. Believe me, Scientology is valuable enough that it doesn't require any sales pitch. But
I think Forrest said you spent $3 million in USA Today alone with some of those full-page ads, double truck ads that you ran. Didn't you also run some TV ads, some radio ads?
No, nothing on time. And by the way, when you say the $3 million, there was an advertising campaign. You have to understand the first 3 weeks of it were about the Time magazine and correcting the falsehoods on it.
Right.
That was a campaign that ran for 12 weeks. The rest of it was attempting to inform the public of what Scientology was. Well, in Scientology, you don't do anything for somebody else.
I could almost go on indefinitely here with this. The man speaks out of both sides of his mouth. Can't remember what he said 5 minutes before. Contradicts himself constantly. There's so many issues that I could cover where he did this in this interview. But I'm just going to go ahead and let this guy, this leader of Scientology, representative of OTs and clears, speak for himself with his great communication skills.
In this instance, We did agree that we would have your correspondence.
You were talking about a bill having been brought into Congress for the setting aside of 1 million acres in Alaska.
You got it.
For people...
Send mental health patients.
mental health patients. Who was the sponsor of that bill? What was the bill number? I mean, I'm sure we're going to...
Well, I have a copy of it, and if you want it, I can give it to you. All of these documents were made available to Forrest. If they're not on here, I don't know why, but I do have them, and I will make it available to you.
Was that bill ever voted on? Did it ever come out of committee?
Oh, yes. It was a major flap for the psychiatrists when it got voted down. It was an attempt to cause something. Richard Behar is a hater. Behar. He had done an article on Scientology. This is a girl who was kicked out for trying to bring criminals into the church.
I think you say a girl, I think we're talking about a grown woman, right?
A grown woman, excuse me.
I mean,
a lady. But this is a horrifying story. This girl was ill. I feel for her.
Another woman.
Another woman on there. Excuse me. I don't mean to say it the meaning way. I'm sorry. She has a horrifying story of having an illness of cancer. And the word in there is that we didn't send her to a church.
To a doctor.
To a doctor, excuse me. In fact, she's been to a doctor 220 times while she was in Scientology. In fact, when we sent her out of the church, we asked her to please go to a medical doctor and see if something was wrong.
Are we clear?